Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to create a toggle dark and light mode clock using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. This clock will not only show you the time but also let you switch between dark and light mode. So let's get started. Here we have a div element with the class of a clock. Next, we have a div element with a class of hour. This likely represents the container for the hour end of the clock. Inside the hour container, there is another div element with a class of HR and an ID attribute of HR. Next, we have a div element with a class of min for the minute hand. Inside the min container, there is an inner div element with a class of mn and an ID attribute of mn, which represents the minute hand of the clock. Next, we have a div element with a class of second that contains an inner div element with a class of sc and an ID attribute of sc. Next, we have a div element with the class of a toggle. Now let's set CSS. Here we have a universal selector. We set the margin and the padding to 0. So they remove the default margin and the padding, and the box sizing is set to border box. Now let's target the body element. Here display is set to flex, justify content and align item is set to center. So they center the content both vertically and horizontally. Mean height is set to 100 VH. Background is set to dark blue color. Overflow is set to hidden. Now let's target the body element with a class of light. Here it changes the background color of the body to a light gray color. Now let's target the element with a class of clock. Here width and height is set to 350 pixels, so that make it a square. Display is set to flex. Justifying content and align item is set to center. Here we set the background color with dark blue color. And here we set an image URL. Next, we set the background size to cover, so it cover the entire clock element. Border is set to 4 pixels solid with a dark blue color. Border radius is set to 50%, so we round the corner of the clock element. Next, we set the box shadow. Creating a shadow effect, it's a combination of inner and outer shadow providing a 3D appearance. Now let's target the clock element inside the body element with a class of light. Here we change the background color of the clock element. It's set here a light gray color and a background image. The URL function is used to specify the image path. We set the background size to cover so that it covers the entire clock element. Border is set to 4 pixels solid with a light gray color. Similar to the previous box shadow, this property adds a box shadow to the clock element, creating a shadow effect. It is also a combination of inner and outer shadows. Now let's set before schedule element. Here content is set to an empty string. Position is set to absolute. Width and height is set to 15 pixels so that it creates a small circle. Background is set to white. Border radius is set to 50 pixels so that make it a perfect circle. And Z index is set to 10,000 so that ensure it appears above the other element. Now let's target the before schedule element of the clock. Here we set the background color to a bright blue color. Now let's target the element with class hour, minute and second. Here position is set to absolute so that it indicate but this element will be positioned absolutely. Now let's target the element with the class hour and HR. Here width and height is set to 160 pixels. Now let's target the element with the class minute and MN, that is likely represented in the minute hand. Here width and height is set to 190 pixels. Now let's target the element with class second and SC, that is represented with second by hand. Here width and height is set to 230 pixels. Now let's target the element with class HR, MN and SC, which likely represent the hour, minute and second hand of the clock. Here display is set to flex. Justify content is set to center. Position is set to absolute. Border radius is set to 50% so that making them circular. Now let's add a before schedule element of element with the class HR. Here content is set to an empty string, position is set to absolute, width is set to 8 pixel, height is set to 80 pixel. So they create a thin and tall shape representing the hour end. Background is set to bright pink color. Z index is set to 10, so that ensure it appears above the other element. Border radius is set to 6 pixels, 0 and 0. So they round the top corner of the schedule element. Now let's target the before schedule element with the class MN. Here content is set to an empty string. Position is set to absolute. Width is set to 4 pixel. Height is set to 90 pixel. So we create a thinner and taller shape representing the minute hand. Z index is set to 11. Background is set to white and border radius is set to 6 pixel. So we create a slightly rounded effect. Now let's target the before schedule element with the class MN when the body element has with the class of light. Here background is set to dark blue color. Now let's target the before schedule element with the class SC. Here content is set to an empty string. Position is set to absolute. Width is set to 2 pixel. Height is set to 150 pixels. So they create a very thin and tall shape representing the second hand. Background is set to blue color. Z index is set to 12. So that ensure it appears above other element, and border radius is set to 6 pixels. So that create a slightly rounded effect. Now let's target the element with the class toggle. Here position is set to absolute. Top is set to 30 pixel. And right is set to 150 pixel. Width is set to 20 pixel and height is set to 20 pixels. So that make it square. Font size is set to 18 pixel. Border radius is set to 50%. So they rounded the corner of the toggle switch. Background is set to dark gray color. Color is set the text color of the same light gray color. Font family is set to sans serif. Cursor is set to pointer. So they indicate it clickable. Transition is set to 0.5 seconds, so they add a smooth transition effect with a duration of 0.5 seconds. Display is set to flex and align item is set to center. Now let's set before schedule element. Here position is set to absolute. Content here is set to light mode, so that the text will be like display before or within the toggle switch. Left is set to 25 pixel. White space is set to now wrap, so that ensure it stay on a single line. Now let's target the toggle element with the body element that has a class of light. Here background color is set to dark blue color, and the color is also set to a dark blue color. Now let's target the before schedule element of the toggle element. Here content is set to dark mode, so they change the content of the schedule element to the text dark mode, and white space is set to now wrap, so that it ensures that the text remain on a single line. Now let's search JavaScript. Here we declare a variable and assign it to the document object. Next we have a constant variable and set it to 6. This value is likely used for calculating the degree of rotation for the clock hand. Next we use query selector to select element with the IDs HR, MN and SC from the document. This element likely represent the hour, minute and second hand of the clock, and they are stored in the variable HR, MN and SC. Here we select an element with the class toggle from the document and store it in the variable toggle mode. So they will likely represent the toggle switch. Next we create a function toggle class. That toggles the light class on the body element. It is likely linked to switching between light and dark mode when the toggle switch is clicked. Next we add a set interval that update the clock hand rotation every second. It calculates the current time in hours, minute and second and apply the corresponding rotation to the clock hand. By setting the transform property, Next, we add a click event listener to the toggle mode so that when the toggle switch is clicked, it calls the toggle class function. So that's it for today's video. I hope you found this tutorial both informative and inspiring. Feel free to customize this clock. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more exciting web development tutorials.